Hey guys, welcome to Midwest Fantasy Football Week 11. At least I'm pretty sure it's Week 11 after last week's confusion about what week it was. This week, the biggest blowout and the top scoring game came in the same matchup. In the battle for Scott supremacy, Pope 1.0's Pump Squad knocks off my Justin Tucker Must Die 166.2 to 102.34. Pope 1.0 got a couple big games out of Stephon Diggs with 28.1 points, Mark Ingram with 25.3 points, and Aaron Jones with 24.8 points. His team had a nice, real well-rounded effort in general, having no player that scored less than 10.3 points. This week, my squad was led by Mike Evans, 27 points, Leonard Fournette's 21 points, and Melvin Gordon with 18.5 points. I could have closed the gap here if I hadn't decided to cut Traquan Smith after starting him last week and getting 0 points on no targets, and then promptly calling out that he'd go off this week after I cut his ass. That's what I get for not listening to myself. In this week's closest game, Jason's The Hammock District closes off Josh's I Win Cause Y'all Drafted 140.7 to 135.8, a 4.9 point margin of victory. This matchup was a couple points going apart into the Monday Night Football game, the Rams-Chiefs game, and I'm pretty sure that everybody saw what happened there. Well, maybe not.
What, do you live under a rock?
Going into the game, Jason was trailing, but he comes from behind and grabs the win on the strength of Jared Goff's 38.1 points on Monday Night Football, outpacing Josh's Travis Kelce, who put 26.7 points on the other side of the matchup. Jason also got a nice boost from Saquon Barkley with 37.2 points. Josh's squad got 33.5 points from Drew Brees and 21 points from Kenny Golladay, besides the aforementioned Travis Kelce. Josh could have had a few extra points off a swap of Latavius Murray for the benched Rashard Penny, but for the most part, both of these teams had their best possible matchups out there, and the result wouldn't have changed. In other games this week, and another real close matchup, Pope 2.0's Drunk Choir Boys takes down Alex's Funkle Up 91.4 to 86.3, a 5.1 point margin of victory. Pope 2.0 was led to victory by the New Orleans defense's 17.3 points, Odell Beckham Jr.'s 16.5 points, and 12.7 points from Joe Mixon. Since when can New Orleans play defense?
Hey, we on defense.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa, I don't play defense.
Pope's 5-point margin of victory came thanks to Greg Zerline putting up 11 points on Monday Night Football. For Alex, he got 22.6 points from Phil Rivers and 18.6 points from Kareem Hunt. Both of the two closest games this week came down to the Monday Night Football game, and I am certainly glad that I had already lost and didn't have to watch the back and forth in that game with a matchup on the line. Nick's Duchess of T-Bjork defeats Drew's Undercooked Burger, 127.1 to 112.5. This was the battle of the ties as T.Y. Hilton scored 35 points to lead Nick to the win, and Tyreek Hill put up 42.4 points on the losing side for Drew. Fortunately, neither of you were dumb enough to roster Ty Montgomery, though. Both quarterbacks fought to a stalemate, with Nick's Andrew Luck outpacing Big Ben by a scant .22 points.
Sorry for bothering you.
This matchup was settled at the flex spot, where Nick got 11 points more from Tyler Lockett than Drew got from Dalvin Cook, and at the running back position, where Nick's duo of Peyton Barber and Lamar Miller got 9 points more than Drew's duo of Christian McCaffrey and Tevin Coleman. Lee's I Want Some Butts takes down Derek's Gurley's Gone Wild, 109.3 to 90.5. Lee's power couple of Rodgers to Adams Lee's power couple of Rodgers to Adams put up 49 points combined between the two of them to lead to the win of this matchup. He also got 17.1 points from Adrian Peterson and 15 points from Robert Woods. Derek got 32.6 points from Zeke Elliott, 12 points from Will Lutz, and 11 points from Todd Gurley, who had a season low this week. This was another matchup that was settled in the flex spot, as Derek's Demaryius Thomas put up a healthy 0 spot against Robert Woods' 15.2. As the matchup ended at around a 19-point game, well, that definitely was an issue. Houston might be having a problem trying to fold DT into their offense.
Houston, we have a problem.
Chris's brown-eyed monster holds on to the win over Brandon's once-in-a-generation 128.3 to 115.6. Chris had another one of his balanced attack weeks with 5 players putting up between 16 and 21 points, led by the combo of Julio Jones with 20.9 and Antonio Brown with 20.2. For Brandon, he got 38.9 points from Patrick Mahomes and between 10 and 15 points from 5 other players. Both of these players had a big hole in their lineups as both guys started 0-point days from their starting tight ends, with Benjamin Watson and Eric Ebron both recording goose eggs, healthy goose eggs, despite their team putting up 48 and 38 points.
So what's the big fucking deal? What the fuck are we doing out here? I asked you, what in the fuck are we doing here? Hell, I don't know.
There are 2 weeks to go left in the regular season. Here's a quick update on the playoff picture. With a win, Chris secures one of the 2 byes for the first round of the playoffs and all but locks up the number 1 overall seed. Drew hasn't been officially locked into a playoff spot by Yahoo yet, but the odds calculator says that he has, which makes sense with a 2-game lead on the playoff chasers and a 100-plus point differential on them. So congrats on locking up the 3rd playoff spot. That leaves 3 spots available. There are 2 teams at 6 and 5 and 3 at 5 and 6 that are likely fighting for the last 3 spots. We should know a lot more about who those last 3 spots will go to after this week. The odds calculator still really likes myself and Jason to pretty much nearly make the playoffs. Lee's I Want Some Butts is really creeping up the leaderboard percentage-wise. He's up to 42% chance of making the playoffs, mostly at the penalty of Alex's Funkel up. We'll see if Lee can continue his hot streak for another week. In the weekly wager update, I didn't mention it in last week's video, but there was a wager on week 10. Nick and Eric were wagering a 6-pack on their matchup. Nick defeated Eric, and Nick wins a 6-pack beer. This was week 11, and we did our potato DFS. Congratulations to Lee, who wins this year's first round of potato DFS, if we do a second round, with the selections of Josh Rosen, Theo Riddick, and my new least favorite person in the NFL, Traquan Smith.
Well, first, fuck you, just a little bit.
For the winning of the potato DFS, he wins 4 6-packs of beer from myself, Nick, Brandon, and Pope 2.0. Nick and I are playing each other in Midwest Fantasy Football League, so we have our standard wing wager, go for dinner, but we also tend to wager on our other sport leagues whenever we play there as well, and we have a double header this week, as we have both a football and a hockey matchup this week. I'm hopeful that I don't get swept, at least this way. If we split, that'd be fine, but I just don't want to get swept. Notable matchups this week, the 1 versus the 2 seeds are both currently going at it this week. They've both already clinched playoff spots, so it's not too big of a matchup, but if Derek wants any shot at grabbing the number 1 overall seed, he needs to figure out a way to get a win, and win big this week over Chris. I already mentioned Nick and I play this weekend, so the matchup of brotherly love. Besides just the wing wager, this is actually a pretty big matchup. Nick is at 5 and 6, and I'm at 6 and 5, so of those 5 teams fighting for the last 3 playoff spots, this is 2 of the 5 teams. Drew and Alex are playing this weekend, which is a 3 versus a 5 matchup. If Alex gets the win, he's going to bring Drew back a little closer to the pack to add a little bit of intrigue into next week's final, despite the odds calculator saying he's already in. Maybe it will matter, maybe it won't. If Drew wins, he's definitely locking up a playoff spot, and he puts Alex at risk of getting passed by all of the rest of the 5 and 6 teams. And finally, Nick's Stat Corner. Scott B won the high score exactly 1 year ago, week 11 in 2017, and it was your last time that you had actually won the high score. Jason, you're now 10 and 1 all time versus Josh. Chris and Josh are both 1 game away from tying the Midwest Fantasy Football all-time regular season winning and losing streaks. Chris is sitting at 9, pushing for 10 wins. Josh is sitting at 6 losses in a row, possibly looking at 7 next week. And then finally, with 2 weeks left to go in the regular season, only myself and Chris are now on pace to beat the regular season scoring record. Jason and Derek have fallen a little bit below the mark. And that's all she wrote for this week. Good luck. Have a good Thanksgiving, everybody. And don't forget there are Thursday games this week. And I guess we'll see you next week.